The 2014 EFRA two-wheel drive European Championships takes place in Trelleborg in southern Sweden. Jon Neumann is the defending champion and Lee Martin the main title contender, having won the title 3 times previously. It's a tough track here at the indoor hockey arena, and let's see how they line up after 5 tough rounds of qualifying. 10th on the grid from Great Britain, driving Schumacher, is Tom Cockerell. The 9th place qualifier from Finland, Petri Strom, with an associated. 8th on the grid is the Finnish superstar youngster Joona Häkkinen with another associated. 7th on the starting grid from Sweden, the local favourite David Ronnefalk with his Kyosho. 6th place on the grid is the 1/8 off-road world champion driving a Yokomo, Robert Battier. 5th place on the grid from Finland, another associated driver, Kari Salmela. 4th place on the grid, a British driver, Neil Craig with his associated. The 3rd place qualifier from Austria with the Team C, Hupo Honigl. Number 2 on the grid from Germany, the defending champion with his Durango, Jon Neumann. And our pole position driver setting TQ for this meeting from Great Britain with his Yokomo, it's Lee Martin. Let's get underway with the action for the first A final. And here we go, A final, leg number 1 of the 2014 two-wheel drive European Championships. It's Lee Martin in that orange and white buggy, successfully clears the triple for the first time. Jon Neumann going just about staying with him, as there's a bit of a pile-up further down the field, but we're going to stay up front with the action as Lee Martin leads him down the back straight. Jon Neumann in second, then it's going to be Hupo, followed by Neil Craig. That is the running of the first 4 cars in grid order, and Kari Salmela running in the 5th spot behind them. A big mistake there from Jon Neumann, and Hupo Honigl through into the 2nd spot. So that gives Lee Martin a nice break already in this first A final. Lee Martin from the UK, Hupo Honigl running in 2nd place. Then in 3rd place it is going to be Jon Neumann. Neil Craig in 4th. The gap extending almost lap by lap, corner by corner at the moment. Lee Martin out in front. The battle now for 2nd place between Hupo Honigl and Jon Neumann. Former teammates at Durango, but now Hupo racing for a different team. And Jon makes a great landing there off the triple jump, gets right up the inside to take 2nd place away from the Austrian driver. So Jon back to the 2 spot. Hupo down to 3rd. Lee Martin out in front. His gap that time by was 4 seconds. Lee Martin from Great Britain leading A final, leg number 1 from the pole position. No mistakes from him so far. Jon Neumann made 1 mistake, landing the first of the doubles. Hupo Honigl was through into 2nd place. Then Hupo made the mistake, landing funny off the triple jump, running a little bit wide. That was the only invitation Jon needed. He was through back to the 2nd spot. He is now going to set about trying to catch Lee Martin. The current European champion, Jon Neumann, is after the former European champion, Lee Martin. Jon Neumann trying to go back-to-back with the titles. Lee trying to regain the title that he's held 3 times but lost last year to his German rival. Here, this is A final, leg number 1. It's Lee Martin out in front. Jon Neumann running 2nd. Then we've got this battle now for 3rd place between Hupo Honigl, Neil Craig and Kari Salmela also getting involved. The 3 cars together over the VRC roller, down the back straight, hitting the Durango double now. Hupo followed by Neil and Kari as they turn right through the off-camera corner. Neil looks to the inside as they go across triples. He gets the job done, landing perfectly. Neil Craig through to the 3rd spot. Kari Salmela takes advantage, tries to get past Hupo as well, but can't quite make that work. Neil Craig up to 3rd. Out in front, you're not missing anything. Lee Martin got this one under control. Jon Neumann running 2nd. Neil Craig is 3rd. It's going to be Hupo behind him. Oh, Lee Martin makes a mistake. Lee rolls it over, and again he rolls it over as they go across the J Concepts jump. That puts Jon Neumann to the lead. Neil Craig is there in 3rd place as well. We are halfway through, 2.5 down, 2.5 to go. And then Jon catches with a pipe just in front of our camera stand. Jon Neumann, followed by Lee Martin. It's now a straight battle between these 2 drivers, nose to tail. Underneath the rear wing of the Durango is the Yokomo of Lee Martin. Hook up the pipe just to get that turn through the hairpin. They go down the back straight, through the Durango double. In front of our camera position now, turning right to go over the triple. Jon Neumann versus Lee Martin. 1 and 2, 2 and 1 car numbers as they go across the J Concepts jump. Through the tabletop they go, over the VRC roller and down the main straight. We have got 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Jon Neumann versus Lee Martin. This is the battle as it has been for the last 4 or 5 years, in fact, in the EFRA European Championships. The drivers from Germany racing the Durango car. Driver from the UK now racing for Yokomo after formerly racing for Tamiya. It's a battle down the back straight. Through the sweeper, over the Durango double they go. We have got just 1 minute of racing left here. In A final leg number 1, Lee Martin up the inside, lands it perfectly off triple. Jorn fights back straight away, does the sporting things. He gets it, he's going to get away. That's good driving there from Jorn. He jumped off the track, had an advantage, but waited and let Lee go, but he's straight back on the attack once again. Lee Martin, followed by Jorn Neumann. That mistake from Lee, 2 mistakes in 2 jumps, put Jorn through to the lead, but then a mistake from Jorn, a slight wide landing off the triple, put Lee back in contention. Jorn tried to take advantage, but got hooked up on a pipe. Lee Martin back through to the lead here in Trelleborg for the 2014 European Championships. Oh, Lee gets the land of the triple wrong this time, and now it is going to be Jorn through to the lead, and then Jorn makes a mistake. Lee is back to the lead. This is a 2-horse race with 20 seconds to go. Are they going to get one more lap? And I'm not sure if they are. Lee Martin versus Jorn Neumann. The car behind them, I believe, is a slower car. Yes, it is. That is a slower car who is caught up behind them. And they've all got caught up. It's now a 4-way battle on the last lap. Lee Martin, Jorn Neumann, Hupo's there. Jorn catches a pipe. It's going to be Lee Martin who comes through. Lee Martin is going to get across the line first. Lee is done. Who is finishing in second place? It is Hupo who hangs on to second. Neil Cragg third. Jorn dropping down to 5th place on that very final lap. Absolute mayhem on the last lap. But Lee Martin getting the job done in the final number 1. Taking home the win. Hupo Honegal finished in second place. Neil Cragg in third. Then it was Carrie, Jorn, Petri, Tom, Una, Robert and David.
But after that race, the organisers asked us to review the video footage we had of that last corner incident, and they applied a 5-second penalty to Hupo Honegal's time, dropping him further down the order.
And the maths are really simple. Lee Martin, if he takes the win in this one, he will be the European champion, wrestle that crown back from Jorn Neumann, who he lost it to 1 year ago at this event in Spain. And it's a good start. It's a clear start for the first 2 cars as Hupo makes a mistake, drops down the field. Lee Martin, followed by Jorn Neumann, then a gap back. Neil Cragg is up to 3rd. Robert Battier in 4th by the look of it. And then Hupo dropping down to 5th. First and second are the 2 drivers we thought would be battling for this European title and have done for the last 5 years. It's Lee Martin versus Jorn Neumann. The orange and white Yokomo leads us down the back straight over the Durango double. In front of our camera position now through the off-camber right-hander over the triple in the middle of the circuit. Lands that perfectly over the first double and the J Concepts jump. Lands that one, just about getting it down in time. Through the flat bit, over the tabletop he goes, through the VRC roller, and back down the main straight. Another high-speed lap here. 1 minute quickly down, 4 minutes to go here in A final, leg number 2 at the 2014 two-wheel drive European Championships. You are watching this live on RC Racing TV, presented by Team Durango and the DEX 210 V2, VRC Pro, and J Concepts. And it's a DEX 210 V2 that we're watching now in second place. Jorn Neumann hunting down Lee Martin. Over the triple they go. Through the first double, then the J Concept jump. Lee Martin lands very funny, gets sideways. They are side by side. Jorn looks for lead. Jorn is through to the lead. Over the roller they go. Down the back straight. Through the first corner. Through the Durango double they go. In front of our camera. Off camber corner. Over the triple. 1 and 2, Jorn versus Lee. This is the battle we've been watching non-stop for 5 years in this class. Up onto the tabletop, over the roller one more time. Jorn Neumann for Team Durango, the German driver with the yellow, red and black buggy with the bright yellow wheels, leading the British driver Lee Martin. Lee looks at good landing off the triple, looks up the inside of Jorn, can't make a move. Again, looks up the inside as they go over the J Concept jump, but no room there. Jorn Kimney's buggy really close to the pipes as they come down the back straight. We have got half the distance to go, 2.5 down, 2.5 to go, or thereabouts. We are focused on the battle up front behind. Neil Cragg is still in the 3rd spot, and Robert Battier is in 4th. But we're going to remain with this battle up front. Jorn Neumann versus Lee Martin. Down the back straight, over the Durango double. Through the off-camber right-hander, into the triple. Lee catching up with Jorn that lap as they go across the J Concepts jump. Through the flat bit, then up onto the tabletop. Over the VRC roller, down the back straight they go. So if we can keep both cars in shot, you can see the gaps between them. Jorn Neumann versus Lee Martin over the double-double they go. Through the tabletop, the VRC roller, down the back straight. Over the Durango double, Lee Martin dropping back a little bit that time from Jorn Neumann, but this is the part of the track where Lee is definitely faster as they go into the jump section in front of the driver's stand. Jorn Neumann losing a bit of time to Lee Martin over the tabletop, throwing everything he's got it. We have got 1.5 minutes to go. Lee Martin powers down the back straight, closing up on the gearbox of Jorn Neumann. Looks around the outside, there's no room to go there. Over the triple, pushes him out wide. Good driving from both of them there. And then Jorn rolls over as they come off of the J Concepts jump. But Lee Martin had nowhere to go. He's stuck behind Jorn Neumann as we have got 1 minute of action left here in A final number 2. Jorn Neumann wants to force this to a third leg. Lee Martin trying to get it wrapped up in 2. Lee Martin looks out the inside as they come off the triple. Jorn slams the door in his face, keeping both buggies on 4 wheels, pointing forwards over the VRC roller, down the back straight, and then through the Durango double they go. 1 and 2. 2 and 1 on the track. Jorn Neumann leading Lee Martin with 45 seconds left. Neumann versus Martin on the tabletop. These two have been going at it nose to tail since the drop of the green flag in this A-final leg number 2. This is the close racing we're used to seeing at the two-wheel drive European Championships. Lee Martin gets it all wrong coming off the triple. Gives Jorn a bit of breathing space. There is 25 seconds to go. Over the corner tabletop they go. Through the VRC roller. It's this lap and probably one more for our leaders. Jorn Neumann versus Lee Martin. Neil Craig and Robert Battier closing in, but I don't think they're going to get there. Jorn Neumann has just got one more lap to keep Lee Martin behind, but here comes Lee. This is a ballistically fast lap from Lee. He's throwing the gauntlet down. This is the final lap in A final number 2. Jorn Neumann versus Lee Martin, a race to the line. Through the triples they go. They've got some slower traffic in front of them. Double doubles now over the J Concept jump. Lee Martin looking for it as they go up onto the tabletop. Lee Martin looks for it. Jorn Neumann hangs on to take A main number 2. We are going to a third leg here at the European Championships. Jorn Neumann taking the win. Lee Martin finishing second. Neil Craig through to third. Robert Battier in fourth. Then Carey, Tom, Una, David, Hupo and Petri. Wow. And Lee Martin blasts off in pole position. Jorn Neumann running second. Hupo Honeygel third. Neil Craig is fourth. They clear the triples for the first time. Neil Craig makes a block move there to get up past Hupo. And Hupo fighting back straight away, but out in front. Let's worry about the front two. Lee Martin and Jorn Neumann break away from the rest of the field. Oh, and there's a marshal stuck on the track. And that has allowed Jorn Neumann to get away with a massive lead. And Lee Martin is now dropped deep down the field. So, Jorn Neumann. It's now Neil Craig up to second. And then Petri Strom from 9th is third. Lee Martin is down to 4th, but battling hard against Petri. Makes a great move up the inside. So up onto the tabletop. Jorn Neumann leading this one. Neil Craig in second. Lee Martin is back to third. Here we go. This is going to be a great run from Lee if he can make this up, make this back up. We are only 1 minute down, 4 minutes to go, but Lee makes another mistake, landing it off the double, off the J Concept jump, and he's now completely caught up with the back marker. I don't know if there's an issue with his car. And a problem there for Lee, dropping right down the field, dropping down to 10th. But Jorn Neumann out in front, Neil Craig running in second. So, Jorn Neumann down the back straight. Neil Craig in second. It's the Durango now versus the Associated. It's still Germany versus Great Britain, but it's a different British driver who is up there fighting for it. And I think Neil Craig, of course, has a second place from the first leg of the final. So if he can close down that gap to Jorn Neumann, he is in with a shout of this title as well. Down the back straight they go, through the Durango double, then turning right to go over the triple in the middle of the track. 3 minutes to go as Neil Craig spins sideways as Jorn gets around the circuit nice and cleanly. Jorn Neumann over the roller, down the back straight he goes. through the Durango double, turning right over the triple. Then you've got the double in the middle. The J Concepts jump. Jorn Neumann by himself out in front. Neil Craig running in second. Quite a long way back, as we've got some slower traffic for Jorn to negotiate, which he does successfully. Jorn Neumann, your leader, up the tabletop, off the tabletop, over the VRC roller, down the back straight, into the infield he goes. The right hand off camber corner, over the triple. Jorn short at this point, only driving at 90%, making sure he gets round. As Neil Craig makes a mistake on landing. Jorn Neumann down the back straight now. Neil Craig over the roller as we are into the final 2 minutes of the race. Jorn Neumann is driving away with this one. The European Championship title is within his grasp, as one of the buggies that he's just lapped puts him under a bit of pressure.
1 minute 35 on the race clock.
Down the back straight goes Jorn Neumann. Through the infield, making the right-hand turn, over the triple. Then the first double, then the J Concepts jump. Jorn Neumann out in front in this one. Neil Craig still running second, the full running order behind them. Petri Strom, Una Hatton, Hupo Honigel, Robert Battier, David Ronenfelk, Kari Somella, Tom Cockrell and Lee Martin up at the side of this race. Lee is out of this one. It's down to what happens on the track now. Jorn Neumann is the leader. Neil Craig goes up the tabletop, over the roller with 1 minute left. Jorn Neumann 1 minute away from retaining his European Championship title. Over the J Concepts jump. Through the corner tabletop he goes, over the roller, down the back straight. Jorn Neumann out in front. Neil Craig still running in second. As we have got 30 seconds to go. A display of perfect driving here for Jorn Neumann. Over the roller. Into the double. Then the left-hander. The right-hander over the triple. Jorn Neumann just a lap and a half away from the European title here. Over the J Concepts jump. The tabletop corner now. Over the VRC roller. Down the back straight. Here we go. Jorn Neumann has a few corners to negotiate. If he doesn't make a mistake, the European title will go the way of Jorn Neumann. He's going to come out of the final turn now. Off the tabletop, over the VRC roller. Jorn Neumann takes the title. Neil Craig going to come through to finish second in this leg. And a very dejected Lee Martin off the driver's stand, walking straight back to the pits.
So thanks to his 2A final wins, Jorn Neumann takes the title here in Trelleborg in Sweden. Lee Martin disappointing to finish second. Neil Craig completing the podium in third. Then behind them, Kari was fourth, Petri in fifth. Then Hupo, Robert, Una, Tom and David rounding out the top 10 at the two-wheel drive European Championships.